Okay, short daf tonight. We're in the sugya of a get makusher. In the sugya of a get makusher, we were describing what a get makusher is, 2 edim, 3 edim, and we're getting into the actual kiyum shtaris signatures. We left off yesterday where the simanim and how you go ahead and align, then maybe you worry about cutting off. We said it's all 3 on the same line, and therefore you have nothing to worry about. We gave a very nice Taras Chaim yesterday. Dr. Pessi, you looked at that Taras Chaim. It was very, very nice, yesterday's daf. Anyway, we're up to Kuf Samech Aleph Amid Beis. Kuf Samech Amid Beis. 4 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef. Rabbi Yochanan. Kol HaMechokim Hulon Tzarech Sheyichtov V'Dein Kiyu Mehem. So the halachas we saw yesterday is if there will be a correction in the shtar, if it was the Makom Shar B'Kayim, you wouldn't erase it. If it was in that place, you would have to go ahead, suspend it in between the empty space and the written line above, and at the end of the shtar, you would have to go ahead write V'Dein Kiyu Mehem, and these are, and then you'd write the words that you added or corrected, and V'Dein and these are the ones that you makayim. Now the Rashbam brings the girsa that you didn't write V'Dein Kiyu Mehem. It was enough just to write the words. In other words, when it says these are kiyumehem, you'd write those words, and then since you use the pronoun, what are these? You would list them. Says the Rashbam, you don't have to write v'dein kiyumehem. Don't write that. Just write the words, and obviously know why you're writing the words there, and why you're writing the words there. Obviously, because why? Because
they're amendments.
I don't know if amendments is an addition to. This is a correction. It seems to be a correction. It seems to be different. It seems to be. What?
No, the Mechokim is ratios, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one din that the Mechokim you have to go ahead and you have to list it at the end of the shtar, and then you write afterwards a kol shor v'kayim. B'tzorch sheyachzer minyoni shel shtar b'shita achreina, and you have to go over the content of the shtar in the last line. Let's see Rashbam, fellas. B'tzorch sheyachzer zeu shonu koisvim, that we write b'soif hashtar v'konina min ploni bar ploni li ploni, and ploni bar ploni required from ploni bar ploni kechol ma dekosav, everything that's written in there, umefarish le'el. In other words, the hainu shemefarish v'koifel le'inyan hakosav l'mayla. You go ahead and on that last line you write over and repeat something that the text of the shtar. You wrote over, if there was a Tanai in the shtar, if ploni by ploni, oh, so much, such and such, you'd go over and write chazriba. So when it says over here, you have to go ahead and be machsim in yanoi, hachim yifrashin Allah. How's the way you explain it? V'tzarech shlo yehei kosev b'seif hashtar b'shita achroina shum dav chidish v'shum Tanai shashtar tali boy. In other words, in that last line, you're not writing anything new. All you're writing is something that was previously mentioned. We'll see why in a second. But you're not going to write in that last line anything that didn't appear above. You're not going to write that at all. Okay? Continues Rashbam. Nilmad mishita achroina, because you don't learn anything from the shita achroina. Kinefarish the kamon. V'nimsa she'iskayim hashtara elyoin b'lo yatanai v'yagbi boy shloy kedin. So in other words, you make sure that whatever you have in that last line is something that was mentioned previously. You're not losing anything if you don't learn anything. Whatever was in that shita achreina, it was previously mentioned. So this is one of the safeguards in the shtar to make sure that everything is on the up and up. That in the last line, you don't write anything new. So the Rashbam learned pshat. You need to return and write from the stuff that was previously stated in the shtar. What do? B'shita achreina, you're returning and writing it again. So and that last line, because again, if that last line has something that was new and it was erased, and then nimsa that you didn't keep the Tanai, and really everything's bottled. So we're making sure that you're not going to learn anything from there. So if it's not good, you don't have to worry. So that's a safeguard they built into the shtar. So in this parak, we're learning dinei shtaris, basically, fellas. So this is a safeguard they put in the shtar, that you can't write anything in the last line that wasn't there previously. My time, what's the reason? Amar Aleph. Amar Rav Amram, the fisha ein la made in mishita achroina, because you don't learn what from the last line, right? You don't learn from what from the last line. Amar le Rav Nachman le Rav Amram minol ha. How do you know this? Amar le de Tanya hachikim esa edim shnei shitim min aksav puzzle. If you distance the edim, we're going to see Rashbam in a second. The edim would leave a space in between themselves and the text of the shtar, so it shouldn't be too close. So if you leave one line, it's good. 2 lines, it's no good. Why? If you leave one line, it's good, because there's nothing to worry about. Because if you put anything in that line, we're not going to listen to it anyway. But if you put 2 lines, maybe line A, you will add something. Line B, we won't listen to. And therefore, so it's, again, a very thought out process. Like they say, there's nothing like a good Jewish accountant. There's nothing like a good Seifrei Shtarais. They understood, they anticipated anything. So therefore, so here chikas eidim shtei shitim and aksav pasol shita achas kasha ma'ishna shtei shitim dilman mizayif. Maybe you'll go ahead and counterfeit because of shita achas v'kasav. In other words, why are we worried, guys? Again, so you have lines A and B. We may write something new in line A, disregard line B, and then what? Then therefore it's puzzle. Fred the Gemara. So if that's the case, shita achas nami mizayif. Why aren't you worried about if you have one line? And what's the answer? You're not going to learn from that one line. A clear-cut raya that what? If you leave one line, in other words, so guys, here's the text of the shtar. Here's a space in between, and there's Edom over here. That line is enough to write one thing, you're not worried. Because if they write one thing, we're not going to listen to it anyway. However, 2 things you write, if you write 2 things, then we're concerned that what? This one, they wrote something different. This one, you're not going to learn from. Okay. What? Anything, yeah. I mean, yeah. Anything. Amrav Amram lefi she'ein lemedim b'shita achrayna, v'she'ein edim yicholim. Again, the stam kusha. Again, it won't be that way because the edim are not written afterwards. Yeah, this is stam pashut. Amrav Amram lefi she'ein lemedim b'shita achrayna. Says Rashbam. V'nei she'ein edim yicholim lekar v'chasimasan kol kach b'samach. The Edom are not able to go ahead and bring close their chasima to the bottom line, b'seif hashtar, umenichem revach, and they leave a space between hashtar lechasimasan, and they leave a space between the shtar and their what and their signatures. V'yachal adam lezayif, a person is able to go ahead and forge, ulehoisif bein tayim shita achas, and to add a line. V'hilkach. Therefore, that since that space is going to be empty and you could put something in there, the Chacham made a takana. If you're going to put something in there, we're not going to listen to it. If you go ahead and you forge, you're not losing anything. If you're not going to learn from it. You wrote everything above. So the only thing you could write there, what, is a repetition of what was previously in the shtar. And even if they're going to mizayif and add a line after the inyan of the shtar, this is speaking in the shtar, guys, where you did not write hakol shor v'kayim. In other words, when this is all if you don't write a kol shor v'kayim, because if you write a kol shor v'kayim, there's nothing else to discuss. Once a kol shor v'kayim means no ifs, ands, and buts. So this is all this raid, all this conversation is where you don't write that. Okay, but if you do write that, then you have nothing to worry about. We're not gonna. It doesn't make whatever is there. That's it. Final kapatit. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything. Okay, Amid based. Iboiluhu. Shita umech tzamai. Okay, so 2, we said 1 is what? 1 is good. 2 is puzzle. What about you leave a line and a half a line? What about you leave a line and a half a line? My Toshma. Hirchikas edim shnei shitim. if they distance themselves 2 shitim min aksav, puzzle. Hashita merza, the inference being shita merza would be kosher. Ema seifa, shita achas kosher, shitu achas hu de kosher. What's the inference? Hashitu merza puzzle. So why do we always have, when we have conflicting inferences, the Gemara always says the same thing. There's nothing to learn from here. Okay. So my havi Allah taka, what's the bottom line on what? On a star that is what? A star, a line and a half. Tashma, the Tanya. Hirchik as a edim shnei shitim min aksav puzzle. Pachas mikan kasha. Right? Pachas mikan, it would be kasha. Pachas mikan, less than what? No, less than, it would be kasha. So 1.5 would work. 1.5 watt, in fact, would work. Okay. Haya arba v'chamisha edim chasumim al ashtar. You have 4 or 5 edim that are signed on a star. V'nimtza ech mehem karev u'pasel, and you find that one of them is what is a karev u'pasel. Hiskayim edis b'shtar. So let's say 2 or 3 apostle. As long as the 2 edim that are kosher, it's going to work. As long as you have what 2 kosher edim, it'll work. Okay. Okay, so you'll see the bottom Taisus, Mandy. It's a long Taisus. You'll see it. Taisus deals with the kasha. In other words, we said the other day, if you have 3 edim, you can't be azam unless you do all 3. In other words, it's one kind edim. So he's asking, how in the world? Okay, this good Taisus discussed it. Okay, it's a great question. Okay, these edim pesulim won't pass the star. Now, Misayim le'lechizkiya, this is a Rabbi the if Milo star bekroivim, let's say you went ahead, you had empty spaces in the star, guys. And what did you do? You filled in, guys, listen to this. If you had empty spaces in the star, it would be puzzle. If you fill it in with puzzle edim, it's kasha. Guys, you hear? Yeah. You have empty spaces, it will be puzzle. So you fill it in with puzzle edim, kroivim, it's kasha. Counterintuitive, right? Counterintuitive. Anyway, the altitama, shahari avir hasuka paisel b'shleisha. If you have, right? If you have in the sukkah, you have 3 tfachim of airspace, it's puzzle. Okay, 3, it's puzzle. Now, what happens if you have less than 3? Then it's good. Siche schach puzzle paisel be'arba, and schach puzzle puzzles be'arba, guys. Schach puzzle puzzles be'arba. Good. Now, if you take puzzle schach and you put it in the airspace, what's the din? It's kasha. So it's the same thing over here. Without it's with the star with the airspace, it's puzzle. But you put kroivim or schach puzzle in, right? Then it's going to work. Then it's going to work, and that's the way to remember this. Okay, let's do the Rashbam. We'll do the Rashbam. B'kroi from kasha. Pirish. Imhoya bein aksav le'edim. Cholak kishir shnei shitim. If you have between the ksav and the edim 2 lines that are empty, and that'll be puzzle. Umila makam hacholak b'kroivim. You fill in that space b'makom kroivim of star, hu kasha. It's going to be kasha. Umekayim ma'isoi mishar edim shaboy, and you'll be mekayim with what? With the rest of the edim that are in there. You'll be mekayim with the rest of the edim that are in there. V'lei nimsu divrei chizkiya b'feish b'gemara. V'yeshlema beget kireach. Okay, you decide where it is. B'dav chizkiya v'nira divrei chizkiya kivat namasech get kireach. Okay. Let's skip down now. Shahari Sukkah, Val Titama, Mizeh HaChaluk, Ki Bayosei Chelik Hashtar Puzzle, the Milu Psul Mez Kasha. You don't determine that if it's empty, it's puzzle, but if you put in Edim that are puzzle, it's kosher. Shahari Sukkah, Bayos Ba'avish Shleisha Tfachim Sula. If there's 3 tfachim of empty space in the air space in the Sukkah, it's puzzle. The Milu B'schach puzzle, but if you put in Schach puzzle, Kegaim B'dava Mekabel Tumah, like something that, for example, that's Makabel Tumah, Huchshu Sukkah. The Sukkah now becomes what? Kosher. Huchshu Sukkah. Shein Schach Posel, Poisel, a schach that's puzzle does not puzzle, ela ba'arba tfachim, only arba tfachim. So you don't have arba tfachim. Rabbi Yehuda going nami muki lo lahad dechizkiya behilchas eidos shalai. Okay, so you have feel happy. We're finishing up. This is a very short daf. He's here. He's here. He's back. Baruch Hashem. Welcome back, Rabbi Avi. From Eretz Yisrael, Mazel Tov to Rabbi Avi. Should have only simchas and nachas. Okay. I guess we could stop here.
I just got here.
I know. So be on time.